2 years ago. But the first time was John Green.
With John Green. And when you went with John Green, you had to go up the creek all the way.
That's right.
But it's well known that the site John Green filmed was the right one because the trees all lined up, and he was there just months after.
That's right.
And, you know, he had Jim McLaren walk. Were you there when they made that film with Jim McLaren walking the trackway?
No, I don't think so.
Well, I'm pretty sure that was made in that trip, anyway. He had a camera and he was filming, trying to compare, like find the exact location where Roger had shot the film, and had Jim McLaren, who was like 6'5" or so, right, walk in the trackway, and then he lined them up, you know, just as perfectly as he could. But I mean, it's obvious that that's the right film site that he found then.
Yeah. What's that? You sure it was Jim McLaren, though?
Well, that's in the photos. I don't have one with me. I wish I had my laptop or something.
But he is credited in several different places with that film, and it's in several of the books.
Yeah, well, it's John Green's. Yeah, it's well known to be John Green's. But maybe he went on a trip with Al, and then another trip. Is that possible?
It's not this one. The picture's here, is it?
Oh, well, isn't that your son there?
Yeah, yeah.
That would be Mike, or?
That's Mike, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's when he was going to Humboldt State, I think.
Did John Green take this photo too?
No, Peter Burns.
Yeah, I was going to say, this looks like the Byrne photo.
Yeah, it is.
I have a copy of this on my computer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but this was the correct film site that you...
That is definitely the correct film site.
And from where you were in 2003, where do you think the correct film site was?
It was downstream from where we were at.
Downstream?
I don't know exactly where.
You can't quite
Well, I
gauge
can't
because you're in
pinpoint.
two different trips, you wouldn't be able to really know the distance between them.
No. But, you know, the best thing I think is to check with my friend, oh, now I can't think of his name.
From Orleans?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's on my recorder. I'll listen to it again.
I'll think of it again.
He's still around in Orleans?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In the phone book?
Yeah, I think so. Kenny Pugh.
Kenny Pugh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm sure it's in the phone book.
That would be P-U-G-H.
Yeah. He's a nice guy.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of controversy about the film site, but I think that's like not as significant as some of these other controversies.
I agree with you, but it makes a difference, though.
Well,
in a way.
we have a real hunger to just be able to find the right place and settle it, you know, before it's too late. No one who was there can go up there and say this was the right place.
I certainly agree with you. I agree with you. And but I think that's the best bet right now, and I would love to go with you.
Well,
I don't think I can. I think I can, but I don't think my son will.
Well, maybe this summer. What was that beeping sound?
Yeah. Well, I heard something go.
Oh, that must be my phone. I'll start another one of these.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was a 1 hour limit on my recording, so we're starting hour 2 here.
Okay.
Is it really that late?
No,
This one's been recording just under 34 minutes.
Oh, so maybe it's a half an hour,
You may have
45 minutes.
Different time than I started this one. So, yeah, the road, the current road down from the ridge is usually in good shape for a good four-wheel drive. You can get down there without too much trouble, but then it will take some bushwhacking up and down the creek to try to find the location.
Yeah.
But it would certainly, I think, from your look at the map, it would certainly be closer to start there and go downstream than to come upstream from the Notice Creek Bridge.
Well, I don't disagree, excepting if you know, if you know what you're looking for. If you know what, and I would, but I would talk to Kenny Pugh, because he's a nice guy. He's a little bit different, but he's a nice guy. But he's forestry. He's retired from the forestry.
So when was he actually at the film site originally? Like in the early days, was he up there?
I don't really
After-
know. I honestly don't know. Kenny was stationed here in Willow Creek for some time. That's where I got to know him. And then he was transferred to Orleans.
Mhm.
And he retired up there. And I can't really tell you exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, the site has changed so much from what it was then.
Well,
and not just the river, but all the trees that have grown in. It's,
Sure,
it's
yeah.
like my understanding of 1967 is there was a dirt road at least along the creek that they had used for logging access.
Well, way up. It was way above the creek.
It wasn't down in the creek bed.
Oh, no.
There was not any kind of road there.
Nope.
Because, this picture here is supposedly taken on the sandbar just south of the film site, and because there's trucks there. I mean,
Well-
maybe we're all wrong, assuming that that's where this film was taken.
You're all wrong. This is up on Blue Creek Mountain, up on the
That's
ridge.
up on the ridge.
Up on the ridge.
That's not. This is the picture with the red hands and the bodies, and
Yep.
this is the one where MK is saying there's blood on the ground, and
Yeah, I know.
the skins are lying there in the sandbar, and it's vague. You can't tell
No.
where it is if it's in the sandbar. I mean, that looks kind of like it could be in the creek bed, but
But this is not the creek bed.
no, that's up
This is a road right up on top of the ridge.
a couple thousand miles at least,
I
a
don't know
couple
how
thousand feet up.
Yeah.
From
and,
there.
I tell you, there's a guy that if he'll talk to you, whether he will or not. He was the man that discovered those tracks.
The ones down.
No, the one on
Blue
Blue
Creek
Creek Mountain. And he lives in Hoopaw. He's an Indian fellow, nice guy. Just whether or not he'll talk to you, I don't know.
He was there on that work crew. That was.
He was the man. I believe that he was the foreman on that road at that time.
Mhm.
And he told me, he says, Al, I was the last man out that night. I was the first man in that next morning, and those tracks weren't there. And he said it was a long ways down there if anybody had to come in by foot. He said it had sprinkled a little bit, and you see there was no new tracks as he came up the hill. And there were no tracks except the tracks in this dust.
And that, as I understand it, maybe you would know better. The road, Onion Mountain Road, went down to Louse Camp eventually, and then they started building the road over Blue Creek Mountain. from
Yeah,
there.
they changed the roads all around. I
Yeah.
don't know exactly how they changed, but changed roads all around.
But that road was being plowed through a new road. I think John Green's book says it was a new road being built. And,
Yeah.
and
What
that's why
happened-
the tracks were so
Well,
fresh.
what happened
and the
there?
dirt.
A lot of things happened there that caused that. The flood had done such a number on their roads that they went in and put the road someplace else because of vulnerability of slides and so forth.
You mean the roads that went down into the creek below more?
Yeah, that's right. So they stayed back out of the creek, and exactly how they went, I don't know. And I was up there several times before that, and then I was up there a few times afterward, but not too many.
Who's the name? What's the name of that? I think you said a Hoopa man who found the tracks.
Yeah, his name is oh boy, now again, I'm losing it here. Dud Orchid.
Doug? Or-
Dud. They call him Dud. His name is
Dud, like a
his
nickname.
name is not Dud. His name is that's just what they call him. It's a nickname. But the man is he has flashbacks from the Korean War and he has a tough time. So
Yeah, but Bud Ryerson was running that show up there.
yeah,
wasn't he?
I think it was his show. And now he might have been subbing for somebody. I don't know, but he was that was his show.
But I have a timeline of events here from 1967.
Is that right?
This is all taken from John Green's book.
Uh-huh.
like he says in February of 1967, he came down with Renee DeHinden. I'm assuming driving. They stopped to visit Roger Patterson in Yakima, and then he says they came to Willow Creek, and they heard of some recent Bigfoot activities, and they met Sil McCoy in February of that year. At that point, had you met John Green or Renee DeHinden? I mean, you must have met Renee DeHinden back in...
Well, I knew them both. I actually...
in the 58 business, right?
Yeah, I don't know when No, 58, I did not know all those guys. At that time, I just flat out thought it was a hoax.
Mm-hmm.
And it had nothing to do with it. And so I did not know.
But you were running the store, and you probably got a lot of reports coming in
I
at
did,
that time.
but what really got to me, or where I got into this thing, and I'm sure you've read about Betty Allen.
Betty Allen, the journalist. Yeah.
Yep. And she
was a stringer for the the Humboldt Times, right?
Yeah, what she did, she actually there
Willow
was
Creek correspondent.
yeah, there was a column in the Times. It was RFD.
Yeah, yeah.
And anyway,
what did RFD stand for?
Well,
I've never been able to figure that out.
well, that was a name for a post office. There's a name on the RFD was, what was that? Anyway, it was a name on the post office. On the postal.
But because
I think rural free delivery.
I think that's right.
yeah.
That's it. That's it.
But
Pull that out of the back of the.
didn't Andrew Genzoli write that after later on? Wasn't that his column?
Yeah, it was his column, and Genzoli's column, and but Betty was a reporter, and she also was a guest on his column, and then she was the one that got me. She kept after me.
And she lived up here in Willow Creek, too.
She was. Did you know Lincoln Martin?
Heard the name.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy. I knew his folks, but anyway, she was staying and taking care of Lincoln's mother up here in the South Fork Bridge on this side. Lincoln lived across the river. This was on this side of the river, where Lincoln was born and where he lived. Anyway, and she kept after me, and she said, "Al, you gotta get me this." I said, "No." Anyway, then one day she come to me and she said, "Al, there's been some tracks up there. Would you take me up there?"
Yeah, and she didn't want to go by herself.
Well,
there's that old story that she was.
I think somebody else been taking her up before, but she wouldn't go by herself. But anyway, she conned me into taking her up, and I got a hook to her. I saw some tracks, and they knew there was tracks there, and they had them covered with big pieces of bark, so the trucks go by, they dust them out, they just fill them with dust. So they covered them with bark so the tracks would be there. Well, okay. So we went up there and made casts, and then I found some tracks down the creek, and Frances always will say that they're fake.
Well, she still doesn't believe, does she?
Well, she believes now.
I heard she was a hardcore skeptic.
She was, and she was.
When were these first tracks found?
The first tracks I'm talking about?
Yes.
67, something like that. I can't remember now.
So it took you almost a decade to become more interested in the Bigfoot stuff.
She pushed me into it, and went up. I took her up there, and so then I had cast laid on the counter in the store, and our second store yet. You know where the pool hall is today?
Yeah.
That was our store.
Oh, you were over there.
That was the second store. The first store was on the other side.
Well, the store I know is the one that is now the clinic.
Right.
I remember. I don't remember what year it closed, but I remember when I first came through Willow Creek, I saw Hodgson's department store.
Third store we had there. Anyway, but anyway, it was in there, and I had a cast laid on this one of the casts we made up there. I had it laying on the counter.